You're listening to Travel Tales with Virgil.
You know, it's funny. I just opened up my Instagram there a minute ago, and I don't know how you do it, but you popped up first. You always do. Seem to always be permanently first up on my Instagram feed, and you're always like kissing beside a palm tree or on a beach. So look at
It's the magic of the algorithm. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I have a really interesting podcast this week. I have the Two Bohemians, who are a traveling influencer couple who go all over the world, and currently they are in Tulum in Mexico. They give a fascinating insight into life as an influencer. What do they do? How do they do it? They talk to me about life traveling in the last year during COVID.
Obviously, it gets to a point where you feel like you've had enough, and that was us at that point.
Yeah,
and we managed to do stuff.
Yeah, we ultimately we are people that like thrive from being in different cultures, different countries, learning, exploring. Ultimately, this is how we find our natural happiness.
Everyone needs to get by, basically, and people have different ways of doing so. And I read a really interesting quote. It says, "We're not all in the same boat, we're all in the same storm, but the boats we have are different. Some people are swimming, some people have paddle boats, some people have yachts. Like, everyone's at different points, so we can't really compare what we're doing to another person and vice versa."
So guys are very welcome to the podcast. Great to see you. Luke and Tyler, your handle is the Two Bohemians, isn't that right, on Instagram and everything?
Yeah.
Right, we are very happy to be here right now.
How long have you been doing it for?
Traveling.
Well, as the Two Bohemians.
Bohemians kind of like solidified itself as a brand only a year and a half ago, at least, when we decided we wanted to take it seriously. But prior to that, we've been traveling since like 2015.
Yeah.
From all the experiences, all the things we learned, we decided to put it into what we are now, which is the Two Bohemians, and it encompasses not just travel, but our lifestyle and how we, stay fit and healthy and mentally sane in today's world.
Of course. What I love about Instagram, because I love photography and I love that being able to put it up and it's there forever, hopefully.
Yes, fingers crossed. We love sharing our images and our travels along the way. If you look on our static grid, obviously that's the photos of the two of us. But if you stay up to date with us on the stories, or if you read our blog, we share way more travel-related photos, because we share a couple of guides and just general day-to-day stuff. And I have a strong passion for photography, so I'm always snapping away. And Tyler can get quite frustrated sometimes because every 2 minutes I'm like, hang on, stop. I just want to take a photo. Hang on, no, this.
He loves taking pictures of like houses or like just random things, which is so beautiful. But like when it's like 6 a.m. and we've just finished an hour shoot and he's like, wait, I just need to get a photo of this dog. And I'm like, oh my God, come on now.
Yeah. You can imagine, I can relate to that, and you can imagine what it's like. So I've got 4 kids, and now I'm doing that with my kids. So, it's like sunset, and I'm like, every sunset on holidays, I love the light is so important for me. It's always at sunset, and I'm like, come on, kids, can you just let me take a few photos?
So, they'll be grateful for it though, a few years' time when they're looking back and they've got all these photos.
Exactly. And that's what I keep telling them. Have you been traveling since 2015, or was it on and off?
It was on and off, really, wasn't it? Like we did a big stint in Australia for like 3 years.
No, Australia was like almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And then after that, we was back in UK. We lived in Manchester in the city centre, and we were doing on and off traveling then. So we went to places like Norway. We did like a week-long hiking holiday. We went to Morocco to see Marrakesh, the old Medinas.
Yeah. Norway.
Yeah, I just said Norway.
Oh, sorry.
Tyler went to India as well. She became yoga certified, and I also went with a friend to Mongolia, where I did a bike packing expedition for a month. So,
but we didn't take travel too seriously at that point. It was more just like an ongoing, where is the cheapest flight, or like where is there something we can do in that country. We never thought of it as a place of let's go and explore. It was more like, we were pinching pennies at that point. So it was a point
so
of
we
like
wanted to have these adventures, but we were also like money savvy at the same time, because obviously working casual jobs and trying to fund like the ongoing trips. It's a good addiction, I would say. But like we were trying to balance, like Tyler said, budget with adventure. That's why, we went to Norway and did hiking. We just slept in a tent for 7 days.
Yeah, that was Luke's birthday present, actually. I was like, we're going to Norway, and the only thing I did was rent a car, and I was like, but you've got to bring a sleeping bag because we're going to be camping every night.
And then we balanced it with also, going to Morocco, and we went with friends, so we stayed in like the old riads with the pool in the center and stuff. So it was a period in our lives where enthusiasm and love for travel was just going up and up and up. And then that's when we came to the idea of the Two Bohemians. And then we was like, okay, 2019 comes around, like we want to continue doing this, but how can we make it sustainable? The casual jobs, they don't inspire us. We get quite blue and down when we're home and working, stacking shelves or in a coffee shop, when our love is out there somewhere.
Yeah, and I think the Two Bohemians kind of stemmed from when Luke got his first camera after we were living in Manchester in 2018, and we got to the point where we were like, let's just start taking photos of things we actually like taking photos of. And then I said to Luke, I turned around in like March and I was like, Luke, I want to go traveling again for 6 months, and I want to go to Southeast Asia, and I want to see it all. Let's just start saving up now to do it. And that basically in December 2018, that's when the Two Bohemians officially became the brand that it is.
That's when we decided, okay, we're going to take this seriously.
So now you're in beautiful Tulum. Is that how you pronounce it? Tulum.
Yes, to Tulum. I think there's like a little at the end of it. Yeah, Tulum. And we've been here for around a month now.
And what's it like there? Is it amazing?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's supposed to be winter here, but the average temperature is 28 degrees. So.
Going on 30, so it's definitely not winter for us. But no, it's beautiful. It's super quiet still, but there is a lot of people here, and I think a lot of people are choosing to work from like wherever they are in Tulum, if that makes sense. There's a lot of like work from abroad situations here, so it's really nice to meet more like-minded people like that.
Lots of people work online, like I said,
digital nomads, isn't that what they call them? So there's a lot of them, is there?
Well, it's that, but now, so because of what's happened, a lot of companies have taken their businesses online. So we got a few neighbors in the complex here, and they all have traditional 9-to-5s, but now online instead of in the office.
Yeah.
But are there people that like have worked back in America or somewhere that actually are down there in Mexico?
I think everyone's trialing this new thing where they are now allowed to work online, so they're trying to relocate at the same time as long as they can fit their current schedule with their corporate job. So a lot of people are trying to do that now, which is really cool.
Because it shows you can kind of work anywhere in the world, really, when it's digital. A good time going this time of year.
This is the high season basically, because it's colder in America, it's colder in Europe, so everyone comes to have that tropical getaway. And it's such a fast developing area now. Tulum, we're in a brand new apartment building that was only developed a year ago. There's places next door, there's new hotel zones. Yeah,
it is definitely an up and coming place, especially since it's only been like a very tourist destination for the last 5 years. So I feel like it's definitely going to be similar to Bali in the next few years in terms of how popular it's going to get.
There was a lot of very cool DJs were playing there this time last year. Is that happening at the moment?
It's hit and miss, because obviously because Tulum, it's just a tourism town, so if there was no tourism, Tulum would just crumble. So everything is pretty much normal.
Open. Sorry, I was going to say there's not much partying going on, but there are lots of bars and restaurants that are still open. I don't think there's anything closed, to be honest. I think everything's pretty much open. I just think they are just being careful about the kind of parties and DJs and things like that happening.
And I noticed that, in your videos that you do, that not many people are wearing masks then. Is COVID not talked about there? Or what's...
Walking around, you're fine. It's just if you're getting in taxis, if you're going into shops, say if you just turned up at a restaurant, then it's inclined to wear one. But on the beach, you're fine. Walking around town.
Yeah, I think because obviously it's such a big area. Like there's so much space, and I feel
It's so
like
open as well.
Yeah, like no one's really wearing masks, not even locals. So it's one of those things that you can choose to wear one if you want when you're outside, but it's more just like walking into cafes, like Luke said, and things like that.
And were you a little bit nervous or not at all then when you were going there?
I think the most nervous thing was leaving the UK.
Yeah. When did we leave? So we left a month ago, and when we booked our flights, we are still working out here, so we are doing work. But it was quite terrifying making our way to the airport because of obviously there's some huge stigma saying it's illegal to travel and you shouldn't be going unless it's for work. And even though we had work, we were still nervous about leaving. But I don't know.
It was weird because obviously we were traveling on work purposes, but there were people on our flight, groups of people that were clearly going on holidays.
Really?
Yeah.
So it was a weird limbo situation. You've got obviously people saying one thing, but people doing another thing. So we're in the middle with all our paperwork, our tests, our agreements, and
when we got there,
we sail through, and we're just like
the people at the airport were just like, cool, can we have your bags? Like they were just so like chill about it.
It was normal.
Because in Ireland, like people are going to the Canaries. They're booking like a dental appointment in the Canaries, and then going on holidays.
That is very smart. I think we do that.
And you said there like that, you're nervous at the time. Also, I know around that time there was an awful lot of press because you're influencers. And there was talking about influencers going to Dubai and posting from. So did you get any hassle or negative feedback?
We did get a couple of comments saying people were disappointed in us to travel and that we're being irresponsible. But the thing is, like, tourism is a big industry in a lot of countries. Dubai is one of them. Tulum, where we are, is a town that thrives on tourism. So if there wasn't people traveling in like safe, what's the word?
Proximities.
Yeah, then everything would crumble. So
we saw last year when we were moving around, like during COVID, obviously, and we noticed there were a lot of problems happening and arising within the tourism industry. And this is not just like hotels, this is people's lives and jobs and money that rely on these kind of jobs. And if people don't go and support them, then I feel like it's not just COVID that people need to worry about, it's actually surviving. So when we got here, we were a bit nervous, but ultimately we knew we were doing the right thing and we were supporting Tulum whilst we were here, because there's a lot of stigma around people going to Dubai and just kind of trying to get free hotels and swan around. But
I think the misconception is that the work it's very ambiguous, because obviously not a lot of people understand what goes into being a digital nomad or the business
or an influencer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the picture is only one thing that they see, but there's a whole story behind it as well.
I know. And did you get any press contacting you or anything like that? No, you didn't.
No press. No. So we kind of did it on incognito. Really.
Yeah.
We didn't tell anyone until we were here.
And like I've noticed that in Ireland, there is a little bit, like say I've noticed in the last few weeks, there's been articles about kind of maybe toxic atmosphere about anybody who talks about travel or travel shaming a little bit. And have you noticed that, or is it just doesn't exist where you are now?
Oh, it definitely exists, especially on the social media. Yeah. It's something that we have definitely seen quite a lot. But I feel like, and I saw this post the other day where it said, like, we need to stop travel shaming people, because everyone has a different reason to be leaving. And just because your opinion is valid in like your way, other people see things in a different way. So I feel like everyone should respect everyone's opinion, especially for those of them who do feel like they want to leave the country for different kind of reasons.
Yeah.
We have got like a lift of spirits, you could say. I mean, it was very nice to be home over Christmas.
Yeah.
And it was a time that we needed to be there to refocus what we're doing and set our intentions for the next year. But it just obviously gets to a point where you feel like you've had enough. And that was us at that point.
Yeah.
And we managed to do stuff.
Yeah, we ultimately we are people that like thrive from being in different cultures, different countries, learning, exploring. Ultimately, this is how we find our natural happiness when we're going through life. And being kind of like confined into one space for so long, it's just one of those things that I completely understand why people book appointments in the Canary Islands now, because it's one of those things that it's just, and it does bring so much happiness to you in so many different aspects. And when we're happy, our businesses thrive. And that was something that we were struggling with in the UK, is that because the environment and the energy around, it was just so low and sad, it was kind of taking its toll on us, like you said, and our work as well.
And it is your job. I mean, you're influencers, and your job is traveling and talking. So you know what I mean? So people have to remember that part. True.
Yeah. So everyone needs to get by, basically, and people have different ways of doing so. And I read a really interesting quote. It says, "We're not all in the same boat. We're all in the same storm, but the boats we have are different. Some people are swimming, some people have paddle boats, some people have yachts. Like, everyone's at different points. So we can't really compare what we're doing to another person and vice versa."
And the things I've noticed then from your posts is the food. It looks cool. Did you like Mexican food before you went? I've seen a lot of.
I don't think we tasted proper Mexican food before we came, to be honest.
And is it gorgeous?
It is. The flavors are
amazing.
So tasteful.
It's a good thing we have a gym on the complex, because we would get very big, very, very fast.
We went out with some tacos last night, and it was.
Yeah, we have a new ritual called Taco Tuesday, which we are now going to bring on for the rest of our life.
Yeah.
So Tuesday is tacos.
But no, it's delicious, and it's so nice to see like a culture which is derived around food as well. Like, everyone's out talking, the street stalls, you know.
It's beautiful.
Talking about it is making me hungry.
And the other thing then is the history, like the Mayan ruins and the jungles. It's kind of Indiana Jones-ish, isn't it? Down to the sea. It looks amazing, is it?
Stunning, absolutely stunning. One of my favorite parts of this area is the cenotes and the ruins, because it's got quite a historical prominence. So the Mayans chose this area and the cenotes for a particular reason, because of the effect of the water in the cenotes. It's very special, and to see that through their culture and how they set up shop and facing the temple certain ways, and the architecture is just.
What is the cenotes? Is that the river? Is that a river going through it, or no? What's that?
No, the cenotes are like the sinkholes. You know, when you see like a swimming pool basically in the middle of the.
So don't quote me on this, but we heard from a friend of ours who works at a restaurant here in Tulum. Sorry, the restaurant's called Tanich. And he was saying that basically the cenotes are an effect of what happened when the meteors landed in Tulum. So it's almost like an energetic pool of water that is so different from any kind of other water in the world. So it is really magical. And when we went swimming in it, we were in it for like an hour and a half.
It feels good. Don't quote us on that though.
Yeah,
you know what? Those Mayans, I tell you, they didn't do anything by mistake, you know. And I've heard so many people say there is a magical feel about the place.
Yeah, it's
amazing. And the water as well, the ocean. When we first saw the ocean, it was literally like, when you see Instagram photos but then edited, it was like the edited version of an Instagram photo. Wow. It was insane.
So vibrant.
It was so beautiful.
Yeah, I definitely want to go there. Are you going to stay there for a while, or what's the plan?
So we've been here to film a big project, which is part of what we do for our online business.
Yeah, so I think in Mexico in total, we're probably going to stay here for another month and a half, and then potentially go to Costa Rica and live in Costa Rica for a few months. So taking everything long travel, I think, this
very
year.
Slow, because we didn't want to rush anything as opposed to last year. We want to slow down, really enjoy where we are, get settled, see as much as we can in that country before rushing off to the next place.
Exactly. That friend I was talking to earlier on, she recommended Holbox. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Holbox, yes, we've heard. Yes, it's but we've not managed to get there yet. So I think once we've got this big work,
once the work's done, we will be exploring again.
Exactly. And you know that when I was traveling, it was the times that I really slowed down and did nothing for weeks was the best memories I have. So I do recommend that one. Yeah. Would you call yourself influencers?
We
We don't call ourselves influencers.
Okay. But do you flinch if somebody calls you an influencer or not?
We kind of gotten used to it. I can accept the term influencer because if you look at the definition, like it is textbook what some people do, like influencing, of course, but obviously it comes with like a negative stigma. Like influencers, they just want free gifts, they just want to stay in free hotels, they're just concerned about the product and the teeth whitening and the fake eyelashes, like that kind of stuff. But we have tried to influence from a positive perspective. That's what we are doing.
Yeah, we don't mind being called influencers as long as they understand that what we're trying to do is help more than anything and bring awareness to brands and companies and places that deserve the time and energy that we deserve. So I don't mind it. Sometimes it's a bit weird when someone calls it us because it's our love and job at the same time. So, but no, it's fine.
It's fine. Like we're not bothered.
I know. It's just interesting because people don't understand what it is, or it's a term. It's so topical at the moment, but they don't really know what it is. I think. Yes, as you say, you maybe call yourself discerning influencers because you obviously pick who you associate yourself with very carefully. Then is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. So we, because we love travel, we kind of have the responsibility that if we're going to share it, that we also need to promote health, sustainability, environmentalism, eco-consciousness.
Yeah, how you can travel more consciously, basically. That was like our ethos.
Yeah, because the rate the world is going, of course, it won't be here forever if we don't change our, simple minds. Well, not our simple minds, sorry, our simple things in our minds. Like just being aware of buying a plastic bottle at a shop, or where you are buying your groceries from, or if you are supporting small businesses, kind of thing.
And we're quite minimalism as well. We're minimalistic. So for us, it's not about having to work with every single brand out there. It's about picking and choosing, like you said, the brands that we truly resonate with and that really stand with our ethos and our values. So that's only the kind of brands that we promote, really. And ultimately, we want to make as less of a impact on the planet as possible.
Okay. So I think a lot of people that listen to this podcast might be more my age group. So I think they mightn't actually understand what the whole thing is. So can you explain it when you, I think I have a feeling when you're talking about working with brands, there's people listening now that probably are going, what? So how does it work? Do they contact you or?
It's a mix, really. So we have been contacted in the past directly. That's most of the time where we say no, because it is like the odd product collaboration. Like I said, it would be something that a product we don't use, or it is something we don't want to promote to our followers because of X, Y, and Z. So essentially it could be the communication is formed, either we speak to them or they speak to us. And from that, it is a case of using our online community to share the brand's message. So if the company has a new product, say they've got this new, biodegradable sandwich wrapping kind of thing, and they're like, okay, we want to market this. Let's look at influencers who are in that market. So they might contact vegan food bloggers, environmentalists, activists, kind of thing. And essentially, because influencers, content creators, bloggers, they have created kind of like a relationship with their online community. It's kind of like you're getting like a recommendation through word of mouth instead of like an advertisement on a billboard kind of thing. That's the kind of...
It's very targeted, isn't it? So if somebody wants to target a market, it's a great way of targeting directly, isn't it?
People
And social media marketing right now is probably the highest it's ever been. So for us, we do get a lot of people and companies at the moment as well contacting us, which is really, really great because they're starting to understand the brands we want to work with, which is really good because it's kind of exclusive. Then we can create a really good relationship with that brand and that company and then deliver really honest and raw creations and opinions on the products and the brands themselves, which is ultimately it benefits us and them at the same time. So it's a bit of both. Sometimes if we really love a brand, we'll reach out to them personally, and otherwise they'll come to us.
Going to hotels, are they sponsor you staying there? How does that work?
Essentially, yes, that is how it works, because the hotels, they want to fill their marketing with people enjoying their place kind of thing. The one thing that resonates most is a subject in an environment using, the swimming pool, having a cocktail on a beach, because immediately the consumer or the person who's looking at that photo can envision themselves in that environment. And that's what kind of tourism and travel are starting to do now. And that's why they've invested so much in social media people, bloggers, content creators, influencers, etc., because of that. And because some content creators create such strong media, photography, videos as well, it resonates 10 times more than any advertising company could actually create. So, and
with the hotels as well, they do a lot for us, actually, to be fair. Like when we get hotel collaborations, we tend to get like treated a bit like the royalty, or people actually paying to stay there, which has actually been one of the most exciting experiences for sure. And it's just really nice, like Luke said, to promote a hotel and then get obviously everything paid for and sorted for, but it makes us more grateful and work harder to create content that reflects that.
When I was, one of my guests that was on before Christmas was Holly Rubenstein, and I was looking up photos of the Maldives for my Instagram, and then I saw these articles saying, one of the articles was sort of hotels in the Maldives giving out about influencers looking to stay in the Maldives. Do you ever find that then, that if you're talking to that, some hotels are cynical about it, or are they okay about it? Or?
Yeah, it's because like the market, well, not the market, the amount of influencers, content creators and bloggers, it's growing at a substantial rate. You go back 2 years ago and it'd be half the amount of people there are now who are doing this kind of work. So of course, I would be frustrated as a business owner if I had, 10 requests a day, people being like, can we stay in exchange for this? And it depends how that person is going about, proposing their stay as well. If you're going to say, we're coming to Maldives, we want to stay, we can do this. You're not really going to be like, yeah, okay. But us as people and the team we take our time to understand the ethos of the hotel, B, the values, and C, their company culture. So we don't just fly out, an average email.
And expect an accommodation.
We try to engage in conversation and how we can help them and relate something there, so there's a connection, as opposed to just, we want to take photos for you kind of thing.
And one of the things that we actually like to do as well, we don't expect a hotel accommodation stay every time we go to a new place. Like for us, it's more like if we see somewhere that we think would, like Luke said, benefit from our work and from our collaboration, then we'd happy to do it. But it's always good for us to also find our own places to stay and like find our own adventure in a way.
I was on radio recently talking about Lisbon as my favorite city break. And so ye have lots of I was looking on lots of tram photos in Lisbon, and that was my recommendation. Take the tram 28 to get around the city.
Yes.
And it was like tram porn for me watching your tram photos. It is amazing city, isn't it? That was was that the last place you were in?
So we were, yes. We just did a van life trip through Europe, and we've recently, back in December, come back, did a long 7-day drive from Portugal through Spain, France, back in the UK in time for Christmas.
But Lisbon was just like so beautiful. It's actually definitely one of our best cities that we've been to. Not just because of the food, but like you said, the trams and everything. It just felt like you were in Disneyland when you were on the tram. You were just going up and up and up, and you was like, how big is this city?
It's a beautiful city, so vibrant, so quaint, and I love how, they've got the mosaics on the side of the buildings, and there's cobble roads everywhere. And there's so many hip bars, and for us, because we're vegan, so many food choices as well.
For me, it feels like a South American city in Europe,
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I can definitely kind of feel that there.
Yeah, no, it has that vibe. I think anyway. I just love it, and not expensive either for capital city.
No.
Super affordable. And one of the things that I actually loved was that the orange trees in Lisbon, if the oranges are ripe, you're actually more than welcome to take the oranges from the tree and eat them as well, which I thought was really cool.
That is something that's definitely on my bucket list. You've just done like the going through Europe in a camper van.
Yes.
What was that like? Was it amazing?
Thailand, was it amazing?
Was it squishy?
It was. It was definitely something that I'm really happy we did. Even though there was a lot of ups and downs in it, and the van broke down at one point, and we didn't know if it'd make it. But ultimately, it was so beautiful to drive through different countries and see different things from rather than an airplane perspective.
Yes, yeah, it was. It's kind of surreal because obviously you think of traveling, you think of flying to a new destination, but to be in a van and to go through different countries and to see the change in the culture within like a day's drive it was incredible. Like it just unfolds in front of you over a few hours. So when we drove from like France to Portugal, like everywhere we stopped, everything changed. You know, you wouldn't experience that if you weren't driving and you weren't taking the time.
Exactly.
We avoided toll roads as well. So, you know, we're going down places we wouldn't even consider going down if, you know, we were stuck to the highways and stuff. And you know what they say about van life? It's a home on wheels.
It's freedom. It is real freedom to explore and see a different world, really.
Yeah. So if anyone is going to do a van life, I would highly recommend it for sure.
Just make sure you have good car seats, because our car seats were not ready for a van life trip.
Yeah, we have an old van. I'm not sure if you've seen the photos.
I have,
T25, and you know, it's like 1984, the registration plate. So
you went for photo appeal rather than practical technical appeal.
Yes. So we
regretted that very, very fast.
I
think if we're going to get a new van though, we would definitely take into consideration the ergonomic design of the van.
When I was in Australia, in Western Australia, and I got a Hardy ute for the crack just because it looked great. And then literally after a day, drove it onto a beach and the engine went trying to get off the beach and the car was gone. And then they sent us, after another day, they sent us this lovely big, you know, Mondeo type car, great comfort. And I was like, why? You know, I mean, the ute was like a pickup truck, totally uncomfortable, totally impractical, but it looked great, you know?
Oh, for sure. I mean, today sometimes image, it does mean quite a lot to certain people as well, which is, there's nothing wrong with it at all. And I love our van's pieces. Like it is.
It's beautiful and it's rusty.
It's special in itself.
And was it safe when you were traveling? Did you feel safe parking up? You know?
Yes, we used an app called Park for Night. Basically, you put this app on and you can filter through campsites, free camps, park ups, places in nature, you know, showers, toilets and stuff. So when we were driving through and we were looking for a place to stay, if we were moving quite frequent, we just jump on the app. On there, you'd have photos of the spot. There'd be reviews from people who stayed there recently. And that's how we got by. We never stayed anywhere that was like less than 3 stars reviewed on there. You know, we stuck to places if we were free camping in nature, so we weren't near built up areas.
But Europe is geared up. And as you say, you know, like you were in Australia, you know, you can drive for days and you're in the same culture. And that is something that Europe has, isn't it? That's the variety is amazing.
Yeah, I think that we take that for granted as well, don't you think?
Yeah, because we travel so much, it's like we expect to be somewhere new and different culture all the time. But then when we actually was truly present, when we were driving through everything, it made us way more conscious of it. And it was like, oh, actually, there's so much culture here that we've missed because we've always just been going to like Southeast Asia or Australia or England or whatever. Like, it is the best thing to do if you ever want a massive culture blast.
Yeah, Europe bang one summer done. Like it is. It's beautiful.
And where in Southeast Asia then have you been to that you recommend?
That we were surprised. I was really surprised about Malaysia. We didn't really do any research prior to going to Malaysia. I was like, wow, this is really cool. Why are people going to the hot spots like Bali and Thailand when Malaysia is such a rich country in itself?
Yeah, I'd say Singapore was mine. I was not expecting such like an eco kind of living situation, and it was beautiful as well. Like it is, even though cities are nice, like I walked around the city and I was just like at awe at the tall buildings, even though I've seen millions of them in my life. It was just like really care about how it looks and how it feels. So I was really surprised at Singapore.
When you're traveling, have you been talking to people? Like, is there somewhere that's going to be, is there a destination? Do people talk like that? Like, you know, where's hot, where's going to be big in the next year or two that you have to go to?
It's so hard after the current climate because I feel like everywhere's a hot spot right now.
Exactly.
Everyone's like, oh my god, somewhere.
These places are open, let's go.
True.
Gosh, I don't know. I'd say between Costa Rica and Sri Lanka would definitely be a hot spot soon. I
mean, I guess Costa Rica to Americans, it might already be quite common. But for like people, you know, in Europe and stuff, we meet travelers that haven't even thought about Costa Rica, or we meet one person that's been and they rave about it so much. But as Tyler said, Sri Lanka as well. We were in Sri Lanka at the beginning of 2020 for 2 months. We absolutely loved it. And people there were saying it was like Bali 10 years ago. Okay. And there's already nice cafes there. There's already like a strong community of expats and digital nomads. So
yeah, the rich culture as well. So you can like go up to Ella and you'll see like the mountains, and trails, and then you can go down south and get the surf. And it's got pretty much everything that a lot of places don't realize it has. So I definitely think in the next few years that is going to be a huge hotspot, especially for like surfers and yoga people out there.
We really enjoyed Sri Lanka. Actually. We were in Sri Lanka when it kicked off, and we were in this tiny bubble, ignoring all kind of news, politics.
Well, not ignoring it, it wasn't really a thing over there. Like no one was really talking about it until we spoke to our families, and everyone was panicking, and we were just like, oh, okay, something's happening.
Yeah, Tyler was on the phone to a mum, I think, and a mum turned a corner in a supermarket, and she was like, oh my God, there's nothing on the shelves. And at that point, we was like, maybe this is a serious situation.
Yeah, maybe we should go home now.
So that was it March?
We came home in March.
So we were home in March, and then for the 3 months in the UK, when it was locked down, we were at home at my parents'. And then as soon as we could, we managed to get to Croatia.
Yeah. So we found that with the COVID situation, like a lot of countries are obviously restricting certain people from different countries. So we've just had to do our research every time we plan on going somewhere and to see if it is safe and it is open and what precautions you have to take. But when you're, especially Europe as well, seeing it from a different perspective, like I think they're not as strict as the UK with everything going on, and it's kind of nice to see the world a little bit in its normal state.
Back its normal life. Because you know, some of these countries, like we did Croatia, Greece, and a little bit Italy, and some of the places we visited depend on the tourism. Like if they don't have the tourism, they don't have their livelihood, they can't feed their families. Yeah. So through summer we managed to get out. We tried our best to continue traveling as we would normally.
You probably saw those places a lot quieter than I saw you were in Mykonos. Like, you know, they would normally be packed. Was it much quieter?
It was so much quieter. I'd say like there was still a bunch of tourists there, lots of Americans. But in terms of like,
I remember, we got into Dubrovnik the first 2 days we was in Dubrovnik, and the old time we was walking through.
There was no one.
We were like the only two people. It was kind of sketchy, kind of weird.
Security guards are like literally looking for something to do, and we asked them, and we was like, oh, like, is it usually this quiet? And they looked at us like we were crazy. They was like, we've not seen it this quiet in years, like in absolute years. Yeah. And it's the same with Santorini and Mykonos. Like at sunset, it was still quite busy, but I'm guessing not as busy as what it would have. So it was such a treat actually to see Europe in such a quiet state.
It's a blessing in disguise for us, but also bad for the locals in their destinations.
Yeah.
So I traveled for 2 years with my wife, girlfriend at the time. But one thing I would say that, you know, when we're traveling for so long that, you know, you're like mates, to, rather than. So how do you find that?
I'll let Tyler answer this one.
So we do love traveling together, and like you said, we do become more friends than like a relationship majority of the time, because you're just hanging out and you're doing stuff together, and we work together as well, so we've got to balance everything really. But we do, every year we've actually agreed that we take a trip apart just to have something different to talk about, because when you work with someone, you live with someone, you're best friends with someone, every day is the same kind of conversation. So for us, it's really nice to have that time apart with other friends and other families, because like I went to India, you did a bike trip around Mongolia, and then the year after I think you went and stayed with your friends for a bit, and I went and taught in Turkey for a little bit. Last year you didn't go anywhere, but I went to Hawaii. So that was a bit of a relationship rocker, because he was definitely wanting to
I was very jealous, let's just say, but she went on a retreat, so I was like, fair enough.
Yeah.
But people forget that couples are two individuals, two separate interests. Like
what I used to do with Emer is like every day, and I still do it on our holidays. But I told you about sunset for me, that I love the light. And when we were traveling, and I still do it, I'd always go off at sunset, and generally I'd come back every day going, God, that was the best sunset I've ever seen, because she'd be resting or taking a break, so it was like a running joke. And it was always the highlight of each day. That one time I went away on my own.
No, but it's nice. It's nice to go do different things and come back and share that as well.
Exactly.
You want to know what your partner's done at the end of the day. You don't want to, just finish each of the sentences for the rest of your life. You want to guess. You want to learn. You want to guess. You want to learn something new. You want to be excited. You want to hear their story as well as share your own. So.
You mentioned there cycling in Mongolia. What was that like?
It was a crazy experience.
I just want to say I'm so glad I did not go. Carry on.
So I went with my friend Josh Dwyer at the time, and previous to this I had no cycle experience. I had never done more than a day's cycling or like a couple of hours trip in the countryside. So I just went head in like straight away, and I'm so grateful I did it. And Mongolia is one of the least densely populated countries. So we'd go for like 1 or 2 days and not see people at all. And the route we took was completely across tracks. There was no roads except when we were passing through a town. And I've got so many stories from it, like crazy. We were talking about it the other day, and I keep talking about it, and new things pop in my mind. And Tyler's like not heard that part of the story before. Wow. And it's one of them trips where it's kind of surreal, because Mongolia is so big, the plains are so vast, the people, because they're relatively new to tourism, they're excited to see you, they want photos with you, and just to be able to experience that living out of a tent. We lived off rice passata and fried onions for like 3 weeks, because that's all I could find in the shop. And
he drank horse milk as well, like raw.
Fermented horse milk was the locals' taste. It's kind of like an alcoholic drink, and I remember drinking it, and this woman gave it to us, and I went to drink it, and there was like this tiny little black hair in it. So I was like, took a sip, and I was like, "Here you go, Josh, you finish it." And I didn't tell him about the hair, and he just went gulp, 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 and I was like, "Oh my god, he just whatever was in that, it's in his body now." And we'd be camping in the middle of nowhere, and we'd have someone out of nowhere come over on like a motorcycle on horseback and just sit and stare at us. They can't speak English, so all they're going to do is watch us. So we're like, crouching over our little cooking stove and looking at them like sign language, smiling, laughing and stuff. And there was another time we were actually chased up a valley by 6 men on horseback. And we're like to each other, what the hell's going on? Do we keep cycling? Do we go faster? Like what? So anyway, they caught up and like they surrounded us at the front, and we nod at each other, and we get off the bike, and we just point at the bike, and they're like, oh, yes. So they jump off, and now we're showing them all our camping gear, our tent, our cooking stove, our GPS, maps, They have a go on our bicycles, and we have a go on their horses. Like it was crazy. Like,
were you nervous? Like, were you nervous of getting robbed or?
Not really, to be honest. Okay. Like the day we set off, we hired bikes from a hostel way out there in a place called Tulum, and he warned us, like, a couple of years ago there was an incident where a paraglider was out by himself in the wilderness, and there was an altercation, and he passed away. So through the whole trip, we knew the point of this place, and we was like, okay, when we get to there, just because of the story he said, we felt a bit eerie when we got to that place and setting up camp and everything. But like I said, no one's around you for absolutely miles. Like, it's by chance someone crosses your path. And we just made sure, we was off the main track, behind a couple of bushes or trees and stuff when we set up camp. So, we weren't in direct sight or anything. It's insane. I wouldn't change it. Like,
I know.
It's crazy.
Oh, and one of the things as well, when he was in Mongolia and I was in India at the same time, I had really bad reception and Wi-Fi. I didn't have any Wi-Fi practically, and he had no service. So we didn't speak for like almost a month, and I had no idea where he was, if he was alive. Like, it was just every day. It was so crazy. Yeah. But he sent me a picture when he got home, and he looked like a homeless person, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, the beard was out here. I got bags under my eyes from all the cycling.
You lost like 10 kilos.
You're living off rice.
So guys, it's been great talking to you. A question that I always ask everybody at the end is, if you close your eyes and take 4 deep breaths, allow yourself to think of your happy place from your travels, where would that be and why?
I'd say Australia was definitely one of my home away from home, because we have family there, but every time we go, we just have the most amazing time, and it does feel like home, and that's why I love it so much.
I don't know, the only experience that's sticking in my head right now, we had a trip to Lapland last year in Finland. Wow. And it was our first ever winter trip, and since then I've just become obsessed with like ski destinations and snow, and kind of like more adventure in terms of travel, I guess. Like some kind of that kind of environment.
Ask us next year and it'll be a different location.
We're in Australia actually.
I'd say Perth really? On the west coast. That was definitely home for us. We actually lived in Perth for probably 10 months in total. So
on and off. It's like a place we stopped to, like, when we were doing intermittent travel, to like reset, more money, and then go again. But
so
Margaret River below Perth is just gorgeous, isn't it?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yes, it's so rich, and
we did
I just got so many good memories.
I know. We did a road trip from Melbourne all the way through to Perth. So we passed through it, and we did like the whole road trip with my brother. And Margaret River, we only sparsely saw it, like very little bit, but I think next time we go back, we're going to do a really big road trip down the west coast and then go back to Margaret River and Esperance.
You have to give us some recommendations on the west coast next time.
I actually worked, I'll tell you where it's lovely is I worked for a few months in Broome. So that's way up past Perth. And it's a gorgeous little town with a big Asian influence. We used to go pearl diving there, and it's really beautiful. Broome, and then below that, the diving. Do you do scuba diving?
No, we've done it before.
But we're not qualified.
Okay. The Nangaroo Reef, there's a reef there which is gorgeous, and it's actually I learned up in the Great Barrier Reef, and then I did my advanced over there, but it's just beautiful. And Broome, gorgeous little town, really gorgeous. And the Kimberleys up further again. So I did the drive from Broome to Darwin. Nice. That's just so gorgeous. I'd really recommend that one. That'll definitely on the list. Thanks for such a great chat and telling us about life as influencers, and best of luck on your future travels. I would ask if you could please subscribe to Apple Podcast so a new episode will appear in your library every week. I would also really appreciate if you could leave a rating and a review, as it helps others to discover this podcast. To find out who's on every Tuesday, please follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Travel Tales with Fergal. Stay safe and keep dreaming of future travels.
Travel Tales with Fergal.